So here's a quick update on the Autolite 4300D. I did a video a couple days ago and put it out, I guess 3 or 4 days ago probably. And I was just talking about how I'm converting from the automatic choke system to a manual choke. So I'm going to be hooking up this to a choke cable running from my cab inside the car. And so I had kind of done the video very early after kind of figuring out what I was going to do, and I left out something that I think I should mention. So hopefully, if you watch that video, you're also watching this one. So basically, how that works is on this carburetor, and also on a lot of different kind of, I guess, just generally produced carburetors, there's something called a choke pull down and or choke pull off, different names for it. So doing a little research on specifically how this is supposed to work. So if your carburetor is tuned properly and adjusted properly, what should happen on a cold start with this system. Now this is very much like a, I don't know what you call it, just like a civilian model, I guess, edition, for lack of a better term. But it's supposed to be very user-friendly, very, any person with non-existent mechanical skills or mechanical knowledge can start their car, drive it, so it's marketed and designed to be very user-friendly for anybody who doesn't know anything about, how the system works. They just want to start their car and go kind of thing. Similar to how today, people don't want to know how their fuel injection system works. They just want to know that their car is going to start and that it's going to drive fine. So anyways, how this works is your last position you left your car in when you turned it off probably is going to have the choke open. So if your linkage works correctly and it's set up, and it's not, it's off the car and I've removed some stuff, but basically what happens is, pretend I get in the car and I step on the accelerator to prime it once before I start. That should kick the choke closed, or pretty close to closed, depending on how you adjust it, but technically it should be closed to get your initial first start. So then what happens is you crank the motor, and right then you have your strongest vacuum. So what that does is now you have a little bit of engine vacuum. There's a little cylinder in here. So it's a kind of a little piston that rides up and down the cylinder. And then down at the bottom, there's a vacuum line. So I'll show you where that comes from. But basically what happens is you fire up your motor, it's closed, and now vacuum pulls down this, let's see. Vacuum pulls down that little, you can see that little brass piston there, okay? So then that's connected to your choke. So what ends up happening is it just opens it and it overrides your choke spring. And there's different adjustments, different settings, but essentially it just is going to pull it open just a hair, just so you don't flood your engine, you don't starve your engine or whatever, or have too thick of a mixture. So you're going to open it just so you have some air, because if it's closed, you could get the initial start, but if it's not open enough, if it's open too much, obviously you'll stall out, but if it's not open enough, you also stall out, or run really, really rich, and it'll stumble a lot. So how this works here, let's turn that off again. So looking underneath, I already took this apart, and I'll get to how I bypass this, but so in here there's a passage from, this would be the passenger side primary. Oh, sorry, I'm not even in the camera there. There's a little passage here, and so that will feed air, allow vacuum to come. And now I've closed it off, but there's a little hole here, and then that goes through here, and right in this cylinder, this is a little cap that you can pop off. You have to take apart the internals, but you can knock that out. And then right about here, just a little bit up is the vacuum, and then there's 2 slots, and then the piston runs. So anyway, so what would happen is vacuum would suck that, and it would pull the piston down a little bit. And because your choke would be set up higher, your choke would be set close to closed. Let's see if I can demonstrate that. So that your choke would be set close to closed, and then your vacuum would pull it down a little bit to open it. Anyway, so I'm getting rid of that manual choke, so I don't need any of that because I'm going to be controlling all those fine-tune adjustments from the car. So in interest of not having this leak, and also I don't want it to be interfering with my choke cable. I mean, it should be strong enough to override the vacuum, but I don't want it messing with that. But also, there's a gasket that goes on here before you put your adjustment cap on. So, you know, theoretically, you could have some vacuum leak here. So anyway, so what I did, and I spent a few times doing this, trying to get it nice and strong in there. But I took some, I don't have it with me, but I took some of the thicker solder wire, and it was just a little bit smaller than what the vacuum line hole is. So I put that in, kind of bent it around, and then I soldered on a bit here. And so I think that should be, you know, seal off the majority of it. And I tried to make sure that this is strong enough that it's not going to come loose. I certainly don't want it coming loose and like falling in. But I need to verify this, but I'm pretty sure the gasket will cover this. So it was, I think I'm going to have to verify where all the gasket, but I'm pretty sure the gasket. Certainly, if you have an open bore gasket, it might be a little different story. But if you have your standard, your like correct intake, which I don't for this car, I have an adapter. But anyway, so a lot of rambling to say I think this should be sealed off, so I'm not worried about this falling down, and you know it should be pretty tight. Like I gently pried on it to make sure it's not going to come loose readily. So that I just wanted to be double sure. Then the other thing I did, and what in hindsight I might have done a little differently, is only plug this side. So but anyway, so I ended up plugging both. So I popped this out and I just took a smear of RTV and put it over top. I'm trying to do this in a way that if I ever want to maybe sell this carburetor, or you know, if it turns out that I don't like the way it runs with the manual choke or whatever, if I want to go back, I know I can pop this loose, or if it's really stuck, I can solder it again until it drips out. And I know I can take this out and just clean my passage if I need. But the RTV shouldn't come out loose. It should, you know, come off in one peel. So there's a couple different ways you could do this maybe. One thing I had thought about is you could disconnect this and then just glue in your piston, but that would be kind of messy. So it all depends on what, you know, if you know there's no chance you're ever going to try to go back and redo it, then sure, whatever. But then I didn't want to damage. I'm trying to modify it without damaging anything on the carburetor. So let's see. Let me just tilt this up a little bit. There we go. I don't know if that's better. So, anyways, just wanted to put that out there. Now, as far as the heating line, there should be, at least on the 429, it's a contained loop that goes into the manifold. So providing that that's not cracked or leaking or anything, there should be no leaking coming through that way. But I'm when I put it on, I'll do a vacuum test, or basically a vacuum test, so you can spray either some propane, or you can even drip a little bit of gasoline, or use some you could use choke cleaner actually like this. I think I've only ever tried propane, but I've never actually witnessed a gas leak, a vacuum leak. But anyway, so you can verify. So if you're not worried about it, you could try running it without doing anything to the passage and see if it leaks, and also see if it messes with your automatic choke, your manual choke cable inside the car. So anyways, hopefully that was helpful and made sense. And yeah, I think that's it for today. So thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments section and I'll try to answer you. Thanks.